Today we're going to take a look at some great, amazing terrain options for your games of Age of Sigmar from Game Mat.eu. They have three great mats to choose from, actually technically four, for your games of Age of Sigmar. Plus, they have some existing pretty dope terrain as well. Spiky bits. Make sure you stay in the trenches by becoming a supporter over on Patreon and also scoring yourself some free miniature swag in the process. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out our site, spikybits.com, for all the hot hobby tutorials, news, rumors on all your favorite hobby topics. And head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today. Okay, so Game Mat.eu is pretty clutch when it comes to all sorts of terrain for all your tabletop games. Now, of course, we just started getting into Age of Sigmar here at Spiky Bits and, of course, the Long War. And you've probably seen our very first battle report on both channels. The one on Spiky Bits was a little bit shorter than the one on the Long War, but we're gearing up for a lot more here in the studio, and we can't wait to get to that. But in order to get ready for that, we had to get some fresh terrain for Age of Sigmar. Now, there's not a whole lot of options out there. Now, we wanted, some grassy mats, but I also wanted like some mats that went along with my ogres that I'm doing up, with some snowy bases and such. So I looked at Game Mat.eu. Now, they are over in Europe, but they get the mats here in about a week. They send them via FedEx, which is pretty crazy because I always forget that I order them and they come so quick. And I'm like, what did I order? And they just like here. So I'm like, dope. So there's four great designs. Well, actually three great designs. One of them is a 4x4 mat. I know you can't see it yet on here, but this is actually 4x4 right here, which is great for the smaller games of Age of Sigmar, right? So they got the meadow mat right here, then another meadow mat, which is your 4x6 mat, right? Boom. And then you've got your Highlands mat, which you can't really quite see it yet, but there's some cool rocks and outcroppings and things on here. And then we get to the Battlegrounds mat, which is like cliffs and like crazy, like dried kind of lake bed, kind of puddle type things. And they're all very fresh. And we're going to take a closer look at those here in a second because we're going to zoom in. I want to show you how fresh these are. Then I have to go find my cat to show you that these are almost cat proof, but not quite. And then don't forget too, they have the Gothic Ruin set as well that you can use for 40k, you can use for Age of Sigmar because it's got plenty of spaces on here to put your models, like all up in here, right? This comes pre-painted. I think it's a 150, 160, something like that. Now it is a little heavy on the shipping. I think it's like 30 bucks because it comes like all individually pre-packed in little styrofoam like blocks in a big box as well. Again, something else came in and I was like, what is that? I don't even remember. And it was like so time intensive just to unbox it. There was no way this stuff was getting damaged coming across, the ocean, which you can see sometimes. So there is that too. Don't forget about that option. We've already reviewed that here on the channel. So what I'd like to do now is cut right here and take a closer look at all of these mats just to give you a better idea of the texture and the cool graphics on them. Okay, so first up we have, they call it the Meadows or the Meadows of War, and this is a 4x4 mat, which is great for your smaller games of Age of Sigmar, like I was saying. Now, graphics wise, this stuff's pretty amazing. Like, they get in here and they do all sorts of work. I mean, there's above and beyond kind of when it comes to like the rock placement. They've got, this little like kind of burned out, little slightly patchy kind of dirt drought kind of feel right here, I feel like. And it's really good. And what I like most about this is the 4x4 mat that I just showed you, right? So you can definitely tell that's a 4x4 mat. And underneath it is the real, air quotes, 6x4 mat. This is, of course, the Meadows mat as well. And they didn't just like cut it in half. They didn't just like make it, oh, this is a 6x4, let me just cut it into a 4x4 and just call it a day. No, they actually did the work, redesigned it, made it much bigger because it's got both of these patches in the corner with like showing some rocks and some little trampled down like kind of overgrowth right here. In the other corner over there too, there's a little bit of a rocky outcropping that's a little bit bigger, but they really went the extra mile there, and I really appreciate that. Now, as far as I've been using these mats for I guess about the last like 2 years or so, right? And what I like about them is they don't reflect light, first of all, which is great for, you know, our purposes here, photography and videography and, you know, filming and all sorts of things. They're very durable. I mean, this is, what is it? I think they say this is like a 5 to 8 mil little kind of mouse pad material here, which is, yeah, it's the same material that mouse pad uses that we're all very familiar with. Now, in the past, you know, if you had a mouse pad and you needed to wash it, you could just throw it in a washer. Now, I'm not saying throw these in the washer if you ever need to. You can spot clean them with Resolve spray, which I use quite frequently because I have cats. Speaking of cats, I try to get a cat in here to show that they're mostly cat resistant. The cat did not cooperate. Shocker. So we have no proof there. So you just have to take my word for it that these are mostly cat resistant. However, I have been able to clean up a cat mess off of one of these using Resolve. Also, they are mostly beverage resistant as well. Like if you ever happen to spill some on here, again, you can use a little bit of Resolve to clean it up. They do absorb quite a bit of moisture, as you would imagine with that material right there. Of course, we need a little drink right there, little pick-me-up, little midday pick-me-up right there. So Meadows of War is a great mat. These are $43 base price. Now, shipping's a little bit higher, but not too much. And like I said, it comes in a week to your door here in the States. I'm sure if you lived in Europe or Great Britain, it'd be a lot quicker. I don't understand how or even phantom a guess how the mail works over there, but I imagine it's some sort of FedEx derivative because that's what we get here in the States. So let's take a closer look. I'm going to roll this one up because we know it's a 4x4. And now we're going to take a closer look at the full-on 4x6 metal war mat. Alright, so here it is. You can see the rest of the mat here. It's great looking material. It'll go with most of your bases for Age of Sigmar, whether you play a Sylvaneth or if you're playing something with just a traditional green basing right there. I mean, fresh graphics, like I said, it's the full 4x6 table. Space on this mat, they just didn't crop it down, to make a different style or enlarge it to make a different style based off that 4x4 mat. Okay, so next up is another great 4x6 mat. This is Highlands, and it's probably one of my favorites because it's not quite as bright as the Meadows mat. It's a little bit more muted. I know it's hard to see in here because we have the LED lights on the overhead, so everything's a little bit washed out, including my alabaster skin tone. I like to call it my pallid flesh. I work hard at this, working out my paint muscles. It takes a lot to get them about that small, but I've been at it for about 25 years now, so I got a solid start on it. So anywho, this is one of my favorite because it's not overpowering. Not that the Meadows one is, but I think it goes with more bases. Like I'm a fan of it because it's got some browns in it. It's got some little wispy little kind of like tops of things right here too, and it got some little rocky outcroppings. I'm going to show you the other side of the mat. So pretty similar as well when we go mobile here in a second. But I really dig this mat, and I think this is going to go with most of your armies out there, most of your basing. So whether you have a green basing or a brown basing, or if you even happen to have some snow on your bases like my Beastclaw Riders are going to for Ogres, I think this is the mat for me. But there's one more coming up that I like too, that I think will be a little bit more situational for some of you folks out there. But I think this is a good middle of the line one here. And again, this is the Highland mat. So we're coming out of the booth to show you the other side here. And like I said, it's got these great little patches of brown in it. I'm really digging it. And you can see over here, you got the little rocks coming up, but I dig this mat. Like, I think this mat is going to go with a lot of different army basings out there. As far as that goes, you could even throw some rocky granite on here. This is obviously could be used for Age of Sigmar or 40k as well, so could the other one. But I'm really digging this mat. This is my favorite here. And last but certainly not least is Battlegrounds mat. Now you can tell right here, this is a big departure from what we've seen in the last couple of mats here. It is still got some green in it, still got some little weeds that are struggling to grow. This is almost like starting to make its way up the mountain where there isn't quite as much oxygen or something like that, or maybe it's just a devastated battlefield and Mother Nature starting to work her way in. Either way, it's a great looking mat that will go good for either games of 40k, fantasy, or any, Age of Sigmar, I don't know, fantasy too, or any of the other game systems out there that are similar in need of, a 4x6 mat here. I like this mat. I like the graphics on it. They're fresh. We'll zoom in on some of these rocks and stuff. Like nothing's pixelated. It's all very well done. It flows. There's no nothing that just catches the eye. Like, it just kind of works. It just kind of flows all together. And I really like this mat. The colors are fresh. Now, I think it's a situational mat. Like, a lot of folks out there might not want this particular mat unless they know it's going to go with, you know, their terrain or something like that. But, you know, for a lot of games out there, I could see this being a very, very popular mat. It's not my favorite, but I could definitely see it being a lot of other folks' favorite for, you know, obvious reasons there. Now, something else about these mats too that I forgot to mention, they are $62 each for the 4x6s. I know I talked about how much the 4x4s were. Those are $43, you know, plus shipping, but like I said, they come pretty quick out of Europe. Okay, down to the Beats level cam, and you can see the rest. Everything here, great looking. Up there's a cat. We have a cat sighting. She's just doing her thing. She's like, no, I don't want to be on the table. I'm just gonna be down here. It's cool. So like I said, this mat just really flows. I really dig it. I love everything about this mat. It's not my favorite, but like I said, it's still pretty fresh. I mean, you can definitely do some mountain scenery on here. I can see some dwarfs, you know, some ogres that aren't coming down from the wintry north with snow all over their bases. You know, this is the ultimate accessory for a lot of us out there, and I dig them. All right, so kind of a bonus little mat right here. At the bottom, one of the mats we use the most at the Beats Lab, I believe this is called Fallout. This is one of the earliest mats we picked up. We actually offered this as part of our Kickstarter we did last year on the Long War. A great mat, primarily for 40K. You couldn't really do Age of Sigmar on it. I mean, maybe you could, but it's saying so sort of in the city kind of thing. But it's still a great mat. It just gives you a kind of an idea of the variety of mats that they have available over there on Game Mat.eu. So great site. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of people have a lot of similar mats. It really just kind of comes down to your particular taste in mats, I feel like, and the service that the companies provide. Like I said, I log in, I order my stuff. It's literally here in a week, depending on, you know, any shipping holidays or whatever, from freaking Europe. Like, I don't get that kind of service sometimes from people I order from here in the States. So, you know, there's that. You know, I've never had an issue. I'm sure if I had an issue, it'd get cleared up. I see these guys out there sponsoring all sorts of events, you know, for they're getting their mats on the table at all sorts of events all over the country here and also in Europe. And I want to say I saw some of them for some events in Australia too. So these guys are legit. Game Mat.eu, they got a ton of great stuff out there. Make sure you check them out. They're affordable, they're great looking stuff, and they're always coming out with new designs. If they don't have something you want some sort of variety, drop them a line. Be like, hey, I'm looking for this kind of mat. You know, so-and-so has it. You have the plans for coming out with it, because they have everything from space mats to snow mats to Age of Sigmar type of mats. They really have a great variety of stuff out there, and I think you should check them out.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.